Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into some fiery trade moves as President Trump announces a hefty 30% tariff on EU and Mexican imports starting August 1st. This bold step aims to tackle trade deficits and security issues, but it's stirring up quite the international storm with warnings of retaliation. The EU and Mexico aren't backing down either, they're calling for talks, while some experts wonder if this is more about attention than immediate change. Next up, the Ukraine conflict heats up again with Russia launching a fierce barrage of drones and missiles on Kyiv and Odessa, causing casualties and destruction. Meanwhile, the US is stepping in to send weapons to Kyiv, with Trump promising big support after Russia's deadly attacks. The situation remains tense, with Russia's expanded drone production and Western aid shaping a complex, dangerous chess game. Finally, a major win for immigrant rights as a California court halts broad, suspicionless ICE arrests in Los Angeles. The judge ruled that these tactics unfairly target Latino communities and violate constitutional rights, requiring the government to change its approach. Plus, we're covering Texas' devastating floods where failures in warning systems and flood maps contributed to tragic losses, and Florida lawmakers' visit to the controversial Alligator Alcatraz detention center, raising questions about conditions and oversight. Please continue to watch for more detailed updates. The Toronto Star vividly captures President Donald Trump's bold announcement of imposing 30% tariffs on the European Union and Mexico starting August 1st, a move that threatens to shake the global trade landscape. Trump's letters, posted on social media, reveal his unwavering stance that these tariffs are necessary to address the long-standing trade deficits he claims jeopardize U.S. national security. His correspondence with Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum acknowledges Mexico's efforts to curb migration and drug trafficking but criticizes their insufficient measures, while his letters to the EU accuse them of unfair trade practices and unreciprocal policies. The EU's response emphasizes their commitment to dialogue and warns of countermeasures, highlighting the fragile state of transatlantic relations. Meanwhile, Mexico's government expressed disagreement, viewing the tariffs as unfair treatment, and the Italian government monitors the negotiations closely, supporting a peaceful resolution. Trump's aggressive tariff strategy, which now encompasses 24 countries and the EU, signals a departure from decades of trade diplomacy rooted in negotiated tariff rates, risking a potential trade war that could impact hundreds of billions of dollars in EU-US commerce, particularly in pharmaceuticals, vehicles, and wine. The CBC provides a broader view of Trump's tariff escalation, emphasizing the failure of recent negotiations with key allies, including Canada, Japan, and Brazil, as Trump's threats of even higher tariffs loom. His recent moves, including a proposed 35% tariff on Canadian goods and a 50% tariff on copper, underscore a strategy to leverage economic pressure, with the aim of reshaping U.S. trade relations to favor his administration's objectives. The EU's trade negotiator, Maros Sefcovic, remains optimistic about reaching a deal before tariffs escalate further, noting that talks are ongoing and that the EU has been spared the full brunt of the tariffs so far. However, experts like Douglas Holtz-Eakin warn that Trump's letters are more about drawing attention and exerting pressure than genuine negotiations, revealing a landscape where traditional trade rules are being upended, risking significant economic repercussions for Europe's $2 trillion trade with the US, especially in sectors like automotive and wine exports. Deutsche Welle reports that Russia has intensified its relentless assault on Ukraine, launching a barrage of over 597 drones and 26 missiles in a single night, targeting cities such as Kyiv, Lviv, Kharkiv, and Chernivtsi. The attacks have resulted in at least 6 deaths and numerous injuries, with civilian infrastructure, including residential buildings and vital services like ambulance stations, being heavily damaged. Moscow's strategy appears to be twofold: to weaken Ukraine's military and industrial capacity and to terrorize its population, aiming to break the Ukrainian spirit and influence public opinion. Experts suggest that Russia's expanding drone production, now capable of manufacturing tens of thousands monthly, along with support from countries like China and North Korea, enables these widespread assaults. The Kremlin's ultimate goal seems to be to incapacitate Ukraine's defenses enough to force a political capitulation, possibly leading to a decisive summer offensive that could push Ukraine into submission or force it to capitulate to Kremlin demands by year's end. Meanwhile, Western nations are urged to bolster Ukraine's defenses with advanced weaponry such as Patriot missile systems, but concerns about technology transfer and geopolitical stability hinder swift action. As Zelensky warns of the suffering inflicted by Putin's campaign, the international community faces mounting pressure to intervene decisively and prevent further devastation. The Independent highlights the escalation of Russia's military onslaught, with Vladimir Putin's forces unleashing a record-breaking attack of 597 drones and 26 missiles, leaving at least 6 civilians dead and dozens wounded across Ukraine, including in Lviv, Kharkiv, and Dnipropetrovsk. The assault, part of a broader campaign to dismantle Ukraine's defenses and terrorize its population, coincides with growing frustration from Western leaders like Donald Trump, who has promised to send more weapons to Kyiv amidst warnings of potential escalation. Trump's ominous remark, "You'll be seeing things happen," signals a possible shift toward increased American intervention, especially as the U.S. resumes military supplies to Ukraine, covering full costs through NATO. Meanwhile, Russia's military buildup extends beyond Ukraine's borders, with threats against neighboring countries and warnings from Moscow to the US, South Korea, and Japan against forming security alliances that could threaten North Korea. The recent attacks underscore the urgency for Western nations to provide Ukraine with advanced defense systems, as the war's toll continues to rise, and the threat of a decisive summer offensive looms, potentially reshaping the conflict's trajectory and raising fears of a protracted and more destructive phase of the war. The Toronto Star highlights a stark disparity between President Donald Trump's rhetoric and the reality of immigration enforcement under his administration. Despite his promises to deport only the worst of the worst, government data reveals that over 70% of those detained by ICE have no criminal convictions, and most are classified as posing no threat. The statistics further show that arrests increased significantly after directives to boost enforcement, yet the majority of detained individuals are nonviolent or have minor charges, contradicting Trump's portrayal of migrants as violent criminals. Experts criticize this disconnect, emphasizing that the administration's claims about migrants fueling crime are unsupported by research, and that such misleading narratives foster fear and division within communities. Yahoo US reports on the emotional and community upheaval caused by the detention of Nicole Orozco Ferrero, a dedicated child care worker in Seattle, whose detention by ICE has devastated her family and the local childcare system. Orozco Ferrero, who had experience caring for children with disabilities and was preparing to open her own daycare, was detained during a routine appointment despite her compliance and medical needs of her sick child. Her absence has left a ripple effect. Her employer, families, and children are all suffering from her removal. Community members and union representatives rally in her support, condemning her detention as a blow to the fragile childcare infrastructure and exposing the human toll of immigration policies that target non-criminals, especially those vital to vulnerable populations. Finally, Yahoo US covers a legal setback for the Trump administration's immigration tactics, as a federal judge issues restraining orders against indiscriminate arrests in Los Angeles. The orders, prompted by lawsuits from advocacy groups, prohibit racial profiling and require access to legal counsel for detainees, citing violations of constitutional rights. The judge criticized the government's practices, which disproportionately targeted Latino communities based on race and location, including stops at bus stops and labor sites. The ruling signifies a challenge to the administration's aggressive enforcement, emphasizing the importance of constitutional protections amid ongoing debates over immigration policies. Local officials praised the decision, viewing it as a crucial step towards safeguarding civil liberties in immigrant communities. The Independent reports that Kerr County in Texas failed to activate a life-saving Amber Alert-style warning system during the catastrophic floods that resulted in at least 129 deaths and over 160 missing persons. Despite possessing the technology to send loud alerts directly to every mobile phone in the flood zone, officials only dispatched less effective text messages to pre-registered residents, ignoring the more urgent system that could have warned the entire community. Meanwhile, the Washington Post reveals that FEMA had previously removed dozens of Camp Mystics buildings from flood hazard maps after appeals, potentially to reduce insurance costs and regulatory burdens, despite knowing these structures were in a high-risk floodplain. This oversight and regulatory leniency contributed to the camp's expansion and subsequent devastation during the floods. As the Texas Hill Country braces for additional heavy rains and potential flooding, stories of resilience emerge, including animals being airlifted to safety and community memorials forming along the Guadalupe River, symbolizing collective grief. President Trump visited Kerrville to assess the damage, dismissing questions about warning failures with harsh words, while a tragic story of a 17-year-old girl, Malaya Hammond, who heroically helped her family escape but was swept away, underscores the human toll. The ongoing controversy over FEMA's regulatory decisions and the missed opportunities for early warnings highlight systemic issues that compounded the tragedy, leaving communities to mourn and grapple with the devastating consequences of overlooked preparedness and regulatory failures. The Toronto Star reports that Florida lawmakers, both Democrats and Republicans, visited the newly constructed Everglades Immigration Detention Center, dubbed Alligator Alcatraz, amid controversy over access and conditions. The facility, a rapid assembly of tents, trailers, and temporary structures on an isolated airstrip, was promoted by Governor Ron DeSantis as a tough, efficient solution to meet the Trump administration's ambitious goal of increasing migrant detention capacity from 41,000 to 100,000. The facility's ominous name and remote location are designed to serve as a deterrent against illegal immigration, echoing the infamous Alcatraz prison. While officials assured that detainees would have access to medical care, air conditioning, recreation, attorneys, and clergy, detainees and advocates have painted a starkly different picture, describing food infested with worms, overflowing toilets, mosquitoes, and unreliable air conditioning that leaves detainees in sweltering heat for days without showers. Despite these claims, Florida's emergency management spokesperson insisted the facility meets all standards and provides necessary services. The visit was contentious. 5 Democratic lawmakers, initially barred from entry on July 3, sued the state for obstructing oversight, claiming their access was limited and controlled. The tour, arranged later, was described as a sanitized and limited view, with lawmakers seeking to assess the true conditions firsthand, reflecting the ongoing political and humanitarian debate surrounding the facility's purpose and management. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Got a blue so big and bright. Open it and take a flight. Learn about the stars and see. Everything is here for me. Flip the pages one by one. Knowledge under the sun. From dinosaurs to galaxies, a world of endless mysteries. Encyclopedia, yay. Facts and fun all day. From A to Z, let's see. Curious minds run free. Jump into the pages deep. Secrets that you want to keep. Time will fly and you will find. Magic lies in every line. Animals and history. Science full of mystery. Gotta read and gotta know. Watch our minds all start to grow. Encyclopedia, yay. Facts and fun all day. From A to Z, let's see. Curious minds run free, yeah. Jump into the pages deep. Secrets that you want to keep. Time will fly and you will find. Magic lies in every line. To run free line. Every line's run free. Animals and history. Science full of mystery.